always prevails.
99.3 Nigeria Info.
Let's talk. .3 Nigeria Info. Welcome to the Big Hard Facts. I did tell you that we're going to be talking more about this issue of insecurity, and that's all we've been talking about practically all through the week. And my guest is from a part of the country where, in fact, I'd like to call them one of the hardest hit areas since this issue of terrorism and kidnappings and, you know, call it what you may, has been happening. Today we want to just basically confront the reality of many Nigerians who live every day in these areas, a reality of fear, disruption, and loss. From mass kidnappings to fatal attacks, the scourge of insecurity has begun to tear through the fabrics of communities. Innocent lives have been lost so far, shattered, most of them. Children have been forced into hiding. Schools have turned into danger zones, as you could pick up from my last conversation. In recent months, the crisis has deepened dramatically. Thousands have been abducted, hundreds killed, and not in isolated incidents, but across wide swaths of the country. This mounting tragedy, if you ask me, has caught global attention. And earlier this month, like you all know, we were designated a country of particular concern, citing what authorities describe as systematic, egregious violations of religious freedom and mass killings of civilians. But behind every headline is a face, a family, a community. And nowhere that is more true than in the middle belt of Benue State, where everyday people are living in fear and grief on the ground. To help me navigate this painful truths, I'm being joined by Nick Agule, who is from Benue State, to hear from someone living among the people who live in that crisis situation, and what must change if Nigeria is to survive this turmoil and to rebuild trust. Nick, it's so good to have you join us. Unfortunately, I wish it was under better circumstances, but here we are. Oh, I think you're muted.
Yes, you are right. I was muted. So, can you hear me?
I can hear you loud and clear.
Okay, so yes, it's always good to be on your show, and I look forward to incisive participation by your fans on the show today again. And yes, not on a good note, but we're here and we have to make the best of it.
Absolutely. Let me just roll out some key statistics, Nick, and then we'll go from there. A report by the Civil Society Group in May of 2025 said that since May 2024, at least 6,549 Nigerians have been killed and 3,804 others abducted in mass atrocities across the country. Between July of 2024 and June of 2025, one security industry report documented 4,722 people kidnapped nationwide, with ransom payments totaling 2.57 billion naira. In that same period of July 2024 to June 2025, the study recorded 997 separate kidnapping incidents, and at least 762 people have been killed in connection with these abductions. Even in a relatively calmer month of June of 2025, the death toll remained horrifying. One private security report said 1,101 Nigerians were killed and 276 abducted across the country in just June. Now, the violence is not only concentrated in the northwest or the northeast, as we all know. The most dangerous states in the civil society data include some in the middle belt, such as Benue and Plateau states. And I don't need to remind you how some of our New Year's Day was marred by bloodshed and people who thought that they were going into the new. In fact, they said Happy New Year on the night of 31st, only to wake up in the morning and their families were gone. I don't want to just single out Benue, but I'd rather that you tell us from where you stand because, and thanks, by the way, Nick. I enjoyed my yams from Benue. Uh, how exactly are the people who are experiencing this, especially in your hometown, Benue? How are people taking this situation? Because half the time when we talk about these things, it seems very far fetched, and they say, "Oh, it's in us," and they will deal with their problems. But for the person who is leaving this thing, this is their daily life. I have a we used to have a nanny who's from Benue, and she always tells us that her family is always moving from one place to the other because they are trying to stay safe and alive. What is the experience, the lived experience of the average person in Benue?
It's terrible. It's very, very terrible. In Benue, as we speak today, there are multiple IDP camps spread across the state. Some of the IDPs are housed in tents, some in some makeshift accommodation, some are housed in primary schools, some are in churches. So that is for those group of people, life couldn't be hard because they have been uprooted from their homes and their farms, which is the source of livelihood for them. And they found themselves in these camps where they now have to beg or hope on someone to come in with charity and give them some food or water or anything. They don't have access to health care. Their children don't have access to education. It's a terrible way to live where you don't even know what tomorrow holds. And to make the tragedy to even be worse is that some of those IDP camps have come under attack. So these persons have been removed from their homes into a camp, and whilst they are in the camp with almost nothing, they are still attacked in the camp. And the other bit of it, of course, is that the trauma. A lot of those people are suffering from traumatic stress disorders. Why? Because almost everyone in that camp would have lost somebody. So it's a woman in the camp who saw her husband shot dead or saw her children, slaughtered. Maybe she just found a way to escape, or is a child in the camp that saw their parents murdered, or it is somebody in the camp who saw a pregnant woman slaughtered and her belly ripped open and the unborn baby drawn out and slaughtered. So they've seen so much that ideally these people needed to come under counseling, a kind of trauma healing, so they can try to be whole again. But obviously that's not happening. They don't know where the next meal will come from, and they don't know when they will be attacked again. Because, to be honest, if the bandits or terrorists come to any camp now, there's nothing that stops them. Absolutely nothing. It's not as if government has got security there that will withstand 50 motorcycles, 100 motorcycles coming. So that is for the people who are in the camps. That's their lot. And then for the rest of the other people in Benue who are not in IDP camps, yeah, they are their homes, but they feel very unsafe, especially the ones that are in villages. Some of the villages were attacked previously, and people out of no choice have returned there to try and see if they can pick up the pieces of their lives. And even those who are in cities like Makurdi, which is the state capital, there have been attacks at the fringes of Makurdi, and then some of the attacks is not even in any city. You're on the road and you get kidnapped on the road,
But
And a lot of
Nick,
people
I just want to. I mean,
yeah.
you travel a lot, so you'd be able to help me answer this question. I hear from people who travel a lot that there's so many roadblocks with soldiers and police, JTF. So how come people are being picked off or plucked off like mangoes off a tree from their cars or from their communities? I mean, in terms of kidnapping, when we have these roadblocks mounted almost everywhere.
A very good question. Absolutely a fantastic question. And I was on a national TV the other day, I was talking about this because this provision of security with roadblocks, mounting checkpoints all over the country could have been effective in the days of armed robbery. You know, in the 70s and 80s, the security threat that Nigeria faced was armed robbery. So you either see a Lawrence Anini himself alone or with his gang, and they are robbing and terrorizing. So for such crime, a checkpoint or a roadblock was effective because if they are getting away, then they are going to confront these security men who are on the road who will stop them. So that was right. But now we're dealing with a different threat. The threat we're dealing with now are bandits or terrorists on 50 motorcycles, 100 motorcycles. So what the Nigerian security architecture needed to do was to change the security tactics, because a checkpoint can no longer handle 50 motorcycles. Because if you have a checkpoint with 3, 4, 5 security men, armed men there, and they see 50 motorcycles coming, what are they going to do? I mean, they have only two choices. One choice is just to run into the bush to save their lives, or if they attempt anything, they pay the supreme price immediately, because you are only 5 at the checkpoint, 3 at the checkpoint. These guys are 50. They just pick you up like you are nothing. And that is why these 50 motorcycles can travel long distances to go and abduct schoolgirls and travel long distances back. Why? Because the security provision of checkpoint is not adequate to confront them. The security men just give way to them and just watch them pass because they don't have anything to confront them. So I was advising the commanders and those responsible for security in Nigeria that because of the threat, which has the threat level has changed, they also need to change the way security is provisioned. Meaning they should dismount all of these checkpoints and these roadblocks all over Nigeria, and put these men in super camps. Put them in super camps of 50 men, 200 men, so that if they hear that 50 motorcycles are coming, you release 100 of these armed men to go and face them. If you hear that 100 motorcycles are coming, you release 150 or 200 of these men to go and face them. And by the time they finish with those 100 motorcycles, they go back to their own fortified camp. And what the government should therefore do is to provide the citizens, let the citizens be the people that will be the first line of defense. So
yes, Nick, I want to agree with you. But then there are those who have said many times that even some people in those communities serve as moles for these kidnappers, for these terrorists, for these bandits. Yes, the people are supposed to be the first line of protection, but they have moles among them. So someone is always there to leak information. I mean, you saw how that general was killed. Kidnapped first and then killed, and that was obviously because someone had messed with the information channels.
That is very correct. That's very true that because of poverty, hunger, and greed, there are people who are willing to sacrifice their own kinsmen for a morsel of bread. So that is something that can happen. But if the government provides the infrastructure for citizens to report what they are seeing in terms of intelligence, or when an actual security incident is happening, the citizens report. Like, because, for instance, anywhere you go in the world where the government is serious about security, they have an emergency number. In the UK, it's 999. In the US, it's 911. I was in Qatar very recently, it's 199. The government provides the citizens that architecture. What that architecture means is that every citizen with a phone is able to now become a security man. That phone in the hands of the citizen becomes a security gadget in the hands of the citizen. It becomes a security gadget, because what that means is that if the citizen even sees a collaborator within the community, because like citizens know sometimes who those collaborators within the communities are.
Mm-hmm.
The citizen in the quiet of his room or wherever will just dial that 999 and give that information to the government security. And the government security will harvest that intelligence and act on it. In fact, the mere fact that if criminals know that a system like that exists, where citizens can report what they are seeing, criminals themselves will start behaving well, because they don't know who is seeing them, they don't know who is going to report, and they don't know when they will now land themselves in trouble, right? So this is not just about providing a number. There is a whole infrastructure that needs to be provided around it. You provide a central control and command center where the GSM networks connect their network to. Then you provide a communication in all the security vehicles in Nigeria.
Mm-hmm.
They will have communication in their vehicles. All police stations have communication. All the army formations, all the military formations, everybody will have the communication in their base. So that when a citizen in Katsina makes a call to that number, the Central Command Control Center already knows that this citizen is calling from Katsina at this very point. And they will transfer that information to the nearest response team in that Katsina to where that citizen is. And then that response team will respond to the incident. Or if it is intelligence, they will harvest the intelligence, and then those who are in the intelligence community in Katsina will begin to follow up. They follow up on the lead.
Nick,
So
do you think,
Nick,
Nick, I'm sorry, I have just 2 minutes before I go on the break, but I need to, for clarity's sakes, do you think we have that? Do you think we have the capacity? Because, I mean, we've heard so many fine and dandy, encouraging statements coming from the government, from security chiefs. We've seen General Musa also speaking about, oh, we're no longer going to negotiate with bandits. We're going to, but we never see that the words matched with action. So, I mean, what is about to change, or what will change in 1 minute, 50 seconds?
Yeah, what needs to change is the political will by our leaders that they want to get it done. If our leaders want to get it done, the capacity is there. I can assure you that there are Nigerians, young Nigerians, who can fix a system like this for us. No cost. Okay, let us assume the worst case scenario, say we don't have the expertise internally. Then why not go get the expertise? Why not Qatar? Are Qatar more brilliant than Nigerians? Qataris. Where are Qataris compared to Nigerians? In terms of competence, in terms of expertise. It is this Nigerian capacity that is running things in foreign lands. If you go to data centers, you go to hospitals, you go to construction and all of that in places like the UK, Canada, and the US, it's Nigerians who are behind that. So it's just about our people. For me, I consider it as totally unacceptable that you have an Inspector General of Police who does not have a system like that to enable citizens to report what they are seeing in, or report crime if they see it. Okay. Because it's such a basic tool for security. So basic that you
Okay.
cannot even believe it, that that kind of basic tool Nigeria does not have it.
Well,
If we have an inspector general who knows what he's doing, he should, that will be the first thing that he's going to put in place.
Nick, we're going to
You
go
know,
on a break, but when I come back, I'd like to put it to you that I don't know which IG is going to be able to do this because the police stations themselves run on 15,000 monthly and there's more to come. Stay with us. Nick Agule is with us. He's joining us live, as and we'll be right back talking about insecurity across the country.
More conversation.
Introducing So Clean Pink Detergent, Nigeria's first pink detergent innovation, specially formulated to make your clothes look and smell amazing. It's with 2 times perfume, so every wash releases a burst of long-lasting fragrance. It's soft on clothes with color guard that leaves your colored clothes vibrant and bright. So Clean Pink delivers great cleaning while treating your fabrics to a touch of luxury. Feel the pink with So Clean, the #1 pink detergent.
Iboku abi no boku? We asked bread lovers what their favorite go-to bread was, and here's what they had to say. Boku bread. Ah, boku na.
Boku man!
And with that, some good news for you. Buy affordable milk-flavored boku bread for 1,100 naira only. That's right, 1,100 naira only for all that quality goodness. Oh yeah, hurry now. Buy boku bread from any boku mart near you.
My head oh. Make you make this headache no go finish you. Oh yeah, take this Medic 55. Make you medic your headache. Now everybody confirm I'm the correct remedy for headache oh. Medic 55 now. My name na Odunlade Adekola and I be better hustler. From morning till night, na back to back. Work, traffic, noise. Sometimes it be like say your head go burst. But me, I dey move smart. Once that headache show, I go straight for Medic 55. It dey work fast. It dey cool me down quick. I no get time to slow down. Life no dey wait. With Medic 55, I dey medic my headache. Fast relief, use Medic 55. I no get time to slow. Time no dey wait. I don't medic my headache Now, Orange Drugs Limited, they market Medic 55. If your body no tranga after 3 days, go see your doctor.
Oga Hustler, you guys match this hustle aura for aura. Oh yeah, carry one super commando energy drink there. Make yourself get energy to fire on. Cause to wait for this hustle, don't be by size.
Dependable insurance. Oh God, we are the next insurer. See as the boys diala. All the ladies diala. Insure your car, protection from accidents. Unforeseen loss, you can see them. Mistakes are meant to happen. If you don't jam the car, they'll jam yours. Will you beat them? Yes, you will get them arrested. Your plans for that day is affected. You waste your money, you waste energy. With AXA, you can be protected.
Get the protection that pays today. Call 0700 AXA Mansa to get a motor insurance that pays. AXA, know you can.
Celebration is in the air. It's the Lemon Friday Christmas promo. Bask in joy this season with Adrian Homes and enjoy discounts running up to 40%. Did I hear goodie bag? A 36-month payment spread plus instrumental payment plan on initial deposit with categories starting from 300,000 naira up to 3.5 million naira. Subscribers also get gifts such as a big cow, bag of rice, mini home theater, double door fridge, and lots more. It's time to mingle with the Christmas jingle. Reach out to us today on 0803-727-4413 or 0803-349-3784. Terms and conditions apply.
Every meal I cook must taste just right. Rich, delicious, full of love.
We hear you. Your Maggie Star in double cubes. Double the flavor, double the convenience. The same trusted taste you love. Maggie Star double cubes. Made from fermented soya and other selected ingredients for that deep flavor and quality that only Maggie brings to you. listening to your favorite talk radio Nigeria info via the mobile app? Come closer. Let me fix that for you. Now, launch the app on your device. Click the 3 lines on the top left corner of the app. Look for settings in the drop-down menu and click on it. Turn on the first option that you see. Make sure you turn on the option that says always use highest quality available audio. Now that you have done that, close the app and relaunch it. Voila! I did it! Well, sorry, you did it. Now you can enjoy your radio anywhere, anytime. Nigeria Info. Let's talk.
We dey bring una NIN authentication application NIN Auth wey National Identity Management Commission NIMC carry dey enter we side for we digital identity matter for Nigeria. With NIN Auth, na you truly get your identity data. Give permission o, cancel am or even see who get permission. All of them follow dey inside one secure place. Na privacy, security and empowerment for your hand. For people, na peace of mind o. For businesses, trust and speed. And for government, transparency and accountability. NIN Auth verification don dey simple. Data don dey personal. Go download NIN Auth app on top iOS and Google Play Store today. Your identity, your control. NIMC, providing identity wey sure pass.
Hey, yeah, now Rabi, with your Rabi, my teeth strong, my mouth is fresh, he clean well, oh, now Oral-B. Strong teeth Oral-B, fresh bread Oral-B, 24/7 with Oral-B. Strong teeth Oral-B.
Give on our teeth 24 hours protection. Use Oral-B today. Na Nigerian Dental Association. Tanda Gidigba with Oral-B.
This one wey you dey share Coke and Fanta today, wetin dey happen? My guy, you never hear dem say 35cl plastic bottle don drop to 300 naira. 300 naira, no be 350 we dey buy am before? Yes o, the price don change. Na 300 naira now, meaning say you dey save 50 naira for every bottle. This one na real small price, big refreshment. Oh yeah, my guy, you sef take one bottle.
No lose guard o, grab your favorite 35cl plastic bottle for Coke, Fanta or Sprite for just 300 naira for any store for your side. Promo go end when awoof finish o. Coca-Cola, real wonder.
Mr. Teacher, please, what happens when children come to school? How is it that they leave home very neat and return looking so different?
Non-stop action, ma. All the learning and sports burn energy. So those sweat stains, dirty uniforms and shoes, they show that your kid has been very active.
Now, wow.
Your kids need nourishing energy. Give them Milo at breakfast. It has nutrients that support energy release to help them get the most out of their day. Milo, energy to go further.
Milo!
I'm in love, Sonia tomato mix, stand up. Easy to open, easy to squeeze, easy to scoop and easy to stir.
Sonia tomato mix in a new stand-up pouch.
On the streets, they know who the Baba is. We showed up on major stages, backed the biggest Afrobeat artists, and held it down with big concerts, epic lineups, and of course, amazing refreshment. So, when you hear Baba for the streets, it can only be Pepsi, and that's on period. Pepsi, Baba for the streets. Enjoy more vibes, more bedu, and great tasting refreshments with the Pepsi 60cl PET bottle. Pepsi, thirsty for more.
Hey, Omo! See package! This is what I call full house.
Yes, sir, that's me. I full.
Who's talking about you? I'm talking about this Peak Yogurt Drink Full House pack in your hand.
The Peak Yogurt Drink 1 liter Full House pack with more refreshment contains fresh cow milk. Share and enjoy full house goodness filled with essential vitamins and minerals. Peak. Reach for your peak.
Yes, so this is Jolly Johnny on the streets. How well do you know Maggi chicken flavor? Oh yeah, spell celery.
Celery. Celery.
Bros, you want turn to salary? Okay, spell turmeric.
Turmeric.
Yes, so
turmeric.
Correct. 1 carton of Maggi chicken flavor for you.
Maggi chicken flavor with onions, celery, and turmeric. My game changer.
No look my size, oh. As I did like this, I fit fire on from morning till night. No shaking. Now super commando they run am. Once I don't knock that bottle for morning like this, body go wake. Now why I know they play with my super commando? It get better taste. I need a charge body well. For this hustle, forget muscle. Correct energy no be by size.
Enjoy correct taste and full energy to fire on with Super Commando energy drink. Super Commando, no be by size. Fire on.
Start your day and have a good time. Kivo Creamer. Where you need to have the break time. Kivo Creamer. If not tea, or garita. Kivo Creamer. Kivo Creamer.
Welcome to Nigeria Info, where the news sparks conversation.
The Ala Cattle Breeders Association has condemned the sanctions against them.
They are finished. We're like a sour soup waiting for someone to warm up. You have to wake up to the House of Assembly. You have to wake up to the House of Assembly.
All this talk about voodoo is nonsense. If I had any authority, I'll fire
The football team is as bad as the economy of the country.
If you listen to both ends of the argument, whether it's the one where there is a genocide or the one where there's no genocide.
So ever since they have been saying they have been defeating and killing and the rest of them, it's like what they are just interested in now is who is coming to their party, who is not coming to their party.
So what people call this one now, Chibok 3.0?
This is your space to listen, share, and be heard. 99.3 Nigeria Info. Let's talk. This is Hard Facts.
And yes, we are live on Facebook.com/Nigeria Info FM. We're also live on YouTube, Nigeria Info FM. We're talking about the killings across the country, the insecurity. My guest is an energy expert. He's also a public affairs analyst. He's a friend of the house, Agule, joining us live via Zoom. We're talking about, most importantly, the plight, the trauma that's been experienced by the people who have been hardest hit by these kidnappings and killings across the northeast, the northwest, and the middle belt. And he's obviously from Benue State. Now, Nick, before we went on that break, was talking about simple measures that are policing measures that need to be put in place to deal with these kidnappings and abductions. But Nick, I had a guest here who was from the police public relations. And he worked with the police. He's not a police officer, but one of those people who work with police. And he did some research. He realized that 15,000 naira was given to different police stations to run the police stations every month. What can 15,000 naira buy for you right now? I don't think you can fill half your tank of petrol. And that's why when you call the police will tell you that you need to buy them fuel. So if you're calling those things, those measures that you've called to be put in place, simple policing measures, I'm sorry, I don't think that they're that simple, because if the police's money, the interest they need to run the police station is 15,000 every day, every month, I don't know which year we're going to be able to get those simple measures in place.
It depends on the sincerity of purpose of Nigerian leaders, from the president, who as commander-in-chief is responsible for securing Nigeria, because he has the armed forces, the police, the civil defense, the intelligence community, the paramilitary, all under his control, under his command. It also depends on the governors who are superintending over the 36 states of Nigeria. It also depends on the 774 local government chairmen in Nigeria. And of course, immediately, it will be the issue of local government. Are they getting their money and all of that? So those are the kind of structural deficiencies that need to be removed in Nigeria. There are many places that Nigeria can save money and use it to provide these kind of systems that I'm talking about. For instance, do we need the number of ministries that we have? Do we need the number of departments and agencies of government that we have? Where is the Oronsaye report? A government that is interested in saving money and putting it into securing Nigeria, we take that Oronsaye report and we implement it. And if we implement that Oronsaye report, we can, on a conservative basis, save 5 trillion naira. And if we save 5 trillion naira, then how much does it cost to put an emergency response system in place? How much does it take to equip all of the security vehicles in Nigeria with radios that they can be summoned to appear at a point, or the intelligence community can harvest intel that they have been given, how much will it cost, therefore, to properly fund the security architecture, give the police enough money to run their stations, give the military enough money to equip their soldiers and provide for them, feed them properly, pay them good allowances and all of that? How much will it cost for us to buy the hardware for both the military and the police? So that the Oronsaye report alone, like I said, will conservatively save us 5 trillion. I don't want to say 10 trillion. I want to be conservative at 5 trillion. And before we went on break, we were talking about other areas. Look, we saw in the National Assembly chambers yesterday, we saw the Senate chambers. They were screening the Minister of Defense, and 3/4 of the seats were empty. Where are the senators that were so being paid? Were paying to keep their seats empty, and that is how it has always been. The only time that the Senate and the House of Reps chambers are filled up is when maybe like Mr. President is going there. Then you see all of them will come into the chamber, they fill up. Anytime afterwards, Nigerians should observe those guys. Anytime afterwards, in any news broadcast that you are watching on TV or online or anything, look into the chambers. The number of empty seats are there. These guys are being paid like 30 million naira a month. If we slash that and pay them only 5 million a month, which, by the way, is still a lot of money, because let's not forget that minimum wage is 70,000. So if we pay them 5 million and we harvest 25 million from each of them, it's enough money to provide for our security. But apart from the government, the Nigerian corporate world is always very interested to collaborate when it comes to security. Let's not forget that under the Obasanjo government, there was a security fund that the corporate world contributed billions and billions of naira into it, which was mismanaged. If President Tinubu today sets up that kind of security fund with sincerity of purpose, not to use that fund to squander it, in fact, to set up that fund and put it in the hands of the private sector, and say, you guys should manage this, I can assure you that the private sector will put nothing less than 10 trillion naira in that fund, because they know the importance of security. They themselves are spending so heavily on security. So they will rather put their resources together and provide general security so that everybody is safe and their businesses are safe, than paying heavily to provide their own specific security at their own premises only. So there are a lot of places to go to make money for the security in Nigeria. But the question also needs to be asked. Even the budget now, as we speak, 2025 budget, security carried the highest vote. Security has been carrying the highest vote in the budget for the past 10, 20 years. What has been happening to that money? Because it will appear that insecurity and budget provision are running in the same direction, whereas they should run in opposite directions. Meaning, as you are increasing the budget for security, insecurity should be going down. That's an inverse relationship. But we're seeing a situation where, as the budget for security is increasing, the insecurity itself is rising. And questions have to be asked. And Mr. President, who is providing the money, has to ask the question. The National Assembly, they have to ask the question. Citizens have to ask the question. The governors are said to have security votes. How much of that is being spent? Who need to ask the questions?
Nick, I want to open up the phone lines. Lagos, by the way, the phone lines are open. 0201-277-0993, 0201-465-7190. You can send a message on our live stream on Facebook and on YouTube, or better still, send us a WhatsApp message, 0809597757. Nick, what is the sincerity on the part of government? Now, you've seen a lot of crash programs happening, or rather, we're seeing a lot more things happening in a short. We're seeing turnaround time. We're seeing a shorter turnaround time in terms of the things that we've been constantly crying and begging for. We've seen so many things happen in such a short time. And I keep asking government officials, is it because of the pressure from the American government? Well, that's on the one hand. But what is there a sincerity on the path of the government, whether it be state and the federal government, in dealing with this issue that could give some level of a solace to the people who've lost family, friends, loved ones in these attacks? Quickly, before I take calls.
There was sincerity on the part of government, we will not be in this situation where we are now. That is absolutely the truth. Look, we need to interrogate this situation. The Nigerian government have always continuously come on air to tell us that they are working, they are working, they are working, they are doing this for security, they are doing this for security, talking nice English. But the bandits and terrorists that have been tormenting Nigerians, slaughtering Nigerians, will carry on their work as if nothing was happening. When Donald Trump said, I'm sending troops to go and wipe them out, we started to receive reports that some of them started to run away. Is that not a clear demonstration of the fact that they don't care about our own security? They don't really bother that our security exists because they know that probably it's all talk, no action. But for Donald Trump, they knew that if Donald Trump sends U.S. Marines and special forces into Nigeria, the bad guys will face real war on their hands. And they started to run. So it is very clear to see that our leaders are not sincere. If they were sincere, bandits will run away from our own security. Okay. But before you take the next call, or you take your first call, I just want to say something. That you really touched on something to say, why has it been that in the last few weeks now, there has been a lot of movement in the security? You know, the service chiefs were changed. Minister of Defense has been changed. The president is meeting with service chiefs more frequently. They're talking about a security fund for training. You know, so many things are happening. It is the Donald Trump effect. What could it be any other thing? How else could it be any other thing? Because let's not forget that President Tinubu and the governors, they took office in May 2023. As we're entering this 2026, in May, there will be 3 years in office. 3 good years in office. A child that is 3 years old is already jumping around, talking. So how could they have used 2.5 years of inactivity? And then suddenly, there's so much activity after Donald Trump sneezed. That's definitely the Donald Trump effect. Okay. And for me, I'm just wondering why Donald Trump hasn't come to wipe these bandits off. He should come.
Well, I don't think that Nigerians voted for Donald Trump to be their president, so he doesn't necessarily have the right to come wipe them out. He can only, we can only solicit his support to help us in dealing with the situation. He can't. He doesn't have the powers to come to Nigeria and wipe out the terrorists.
But Nigeria went to Sierra Leone and Liberia with ECOMOG.
They were invited. They were invited. That's right. What I mean. They were invited.
Nobody invited them. They went there because the countries were trying to.
Well, they were invited. It was a collaborative effort with ECOWAS countries. We can't just show you just. A president can't leave his country and show up in another man's country to fight their battles if he's not invited. That's what I mean.
The important thing is that Nigeria went and restored peace in Liberia and Sierra Leone. That is the objective. It's not about who invite. Look, if someone puts a gun on my head now and says, do you choose sovereignty or do you choose your life? What am I going to choose? Choose my life, of course.
Okay, let's take
sovereignty.
Some
What sovereignty are we talking about? Sovereignty that can't defend me. Sovereignty can't defend me is no sovereignty at all.
All right, let's take some
calls. The definition of a sovereignty. You know, Nigeria is already ticking a lot of the boxes of a failed state. How can you have a country where they kidnap your school girls, kidnap children, kidnap people, and they are holding them hostage on Nigerian soil? It's not as if they took them outside Nigerian soil. Did you hear the president himself talking about, when he was, the president was talking when he nominated General Musa as Minister for Defense. He was talking about the Ministry of Defense should go after ungoverned spaces.
Okay.
That's the way they use.
Yeah.
A sovereignty cannot have an ungoverned space.
All right.
Once you have an ungoverned space, you are no longer a sovereignty. And you can't claim that somebody else shouldn't come and help you. Shouldn't come and
all right, let's take some calls, Nick, because of our time. We have just about 4 minutes, so let's see if we can take some very short calls. Hello, welcome to Hard Facts.
Hi, good evening.
Good evening. You have 30 seconds, please. Let's go straight to the point. Yes.
Yeah, this is Emmanuel from Lekki.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, God bless the caller. At least I want to ask the caller one question because
he's a guest. He's a guest, not a caller.
Okay, our guest. I'm an intending in-law to Benue State. I want to ask which part of Benue is safe because I'm planning to go and pay my price in Benue for over 2 years now, but insecurity is pulling my village back from going. And now, me and my wife to be, we have 2 children. I want to ask which part of Benue because my wife is Igede in Benue State. This insecurity is stopping me. I'm from Imo State.
Okay, well, that's a private conversation you need to have with Nick. It's not our insecurity conversation. Thank you for calling. Hello, welcome to Hard Facts.
Hello, good evening, Maryann and our guest.
Yes, good evening. 30 seconds.
Our guest. Mm-hmm. During Jonathan and Yaradua's time, we are only afraid of armed robbers and accidents. And now we cannot travel again. Bandits all over this, they're taking over this nation. And the worst is that at that checkpoint that the army of policemen are, that is where they used to kidnap. And why do army allow these bandits to be sharing the same uniform with them?
Okay.
So if you are traveling and see army, you're going to happy, say, yes, so thank God, see. But now, if you see army, they're not even sure who you are looking at.
All right. Thank you very much for calling. And if you were listening to Nick, he had said that these people outnumber the people at the checkpoint. So half the time, the guys at the checkpoint are also trying to save their lives. It's an interesting rat race. Hello.
Hello, Maryann.
Yes, 30 seconds, please.
Good. Okay, this is Boyesim from Afromedia. Honestly speaking, I thank your guests. They have said it all. The truth remains that the present government is not ready to fight this terrorists. Otherwise, why are they handling everything with thick gloves? What is stopping them from mentioning those who have been responsible for the sponsoring of the terrorists? And why is it taking Tinubu? Why is it taking him time to say, look, I want to fight the terrorists, and he has. Right. I know he has the capacity to do that.
All right.
What is stopping him? Thank you very much.
Thank you very much for calling. I want to take a few more calls before I let Nick go. Hello, welcome to Hard Facts.
Hello, good evening.
Good evening.
Yeah, this is Ahmed.
Ahmed, you have 30 seconds.
See, Maryann. See, those guys, they are working with those people. Those one are along the express zone. Very close to them. They will be anywhere you see them, they will be very close. And they will block the road, main road.
So you think that the kidnappers work hand in hand with our security agencies?
They are working with them. Some of them are sabotage. They are working with. I'm not sure whether it is all of them, but they are working with those people.
All right.
I'm very sure of that.
All right, Ahmed. Well, we can't tell how true that is. But Nick, because our time is up, in a sentence, what is your call to action to the government? There are people who are applauding the Trump effect, like you said. But how do we keep up this momentum and not just about Trump, but in the benefit of Nigerians? We have 40 seconds.
So if Nigerians watch the screening of the new Minister of Defense yesterday, they notice how the Senate president was obviously afraid of Trump by saying, look, we need to do a better job now because you see Trump. What that means is that our leaders are afraid of Trump, but they are not afraid of Nigerians. For Nigerians to get good governance, we must position ourselves where our leaders will be afraid of us. Whatever decisions they want to take, they need to look at our mood and say, Nigerians are coming. Just like they are afraid of Trump, we must put ourselves in a place where they will be afraid of us. If they are not afraid of us, I'm sorry, they are not going to work for us.
Nick Agule, always a pleasure to have you join us on the conversation. He's an energy expert and he's also a public affairs analyst. Thank you so much. Stay safe. And let's hope that our leaders will obviously prioritize us. Thank you for coming on the show, Nick.
Thank you. It's always a pleasure being on your show, Maryann. And good evening to all our listeners.
All right. Good evening to everyone. Thank you for being part of the show. I'll see you tomorrow on Hard Facts Awards. My name is Maryann Okon. Don't forget, there will be a special broadcast with Miyetti Allah hosted by Ireti Bakare Yusuf on Monday at 8 a.m. Look out for it.
Yeah, so this is Jolly Johnny on the streets. How well do you know Maggi chicken flavor? Oh yeah, spell celery.
SELARIE.
99.3 Nigeria Info. We are more than just radio. Subscribe to our YouTube channel at Nigeria Info FM. Check us out on Facebook at Nigeria Info 99.3. Follow us on Twitter at Nigeria Info FM and on Instagram at Nigeria Info FM Lagos for live updates as it happens. 99.3 Nigeria Info. Let's talk.